because at one point history is very heavy. So, and the first people who lived on this island were called Arawaks. The Arawaks people, they were the Aboriginal people of this island. Until in the 9th century, there was a group of Caribs that conquered all the other islands around, and so of course also Guadeloupe, and they came to the island and fought against the Arawaks, and they won right away because the Arawaks were just hunters and gatherers, so they were not really into fighting. And they killed all the Arawaks men, and they kept their women as slaves already in the early centuries. And the Caribs lived on this island for quite a long time. Back then, I mentioned it before, the island was called Carokera. If you translate it, that means island of the beautiful water. Not only because we are surrounded by beautiful water, but also because on Bastia you have a lot of natural water sources and also like drinking water. So that's why the island was called Carokera. Until in 1493, Christopher Columbus came to the island and he tried to colonialize Guadeloupe, but it was not really easy because the Caribs were really well-developed fighters for their times. And only in 1635, the French fought against the Caribs and won, and so they could colonialize Guadeloupe. They deported all the Caribs to Dominica, this little island we've seen before. And in times of slave trade, a lot of slaves from African countries came to Guadeloupe to work on the, at first, sugarcane plantations. So, and as on other islands, of course, during this period, like all the British, the French, the Dutchmen, everybody fought for different islands on the Caribbean, and here on Guadeloupe it was particularly French and English. They fought for the longest time back and forth until in 1794 there was a big victory. That's why we call it. That's why we have in Pointe-a-Pitre a victory place. Where there was a commissioner called Victor Hugues, and he had an idea, and he asked or proposed to the slaves that if they fought together with the French army against the British, that after that he would abolish slavery. So the slaves agreed, and they fought together against the British in 1794, and they won. So the British got abandoned from the island for good, and since then it was a more or less French island. So Victor Hugues kept his promise and he freed the slaves for the first time. So in 1794 that was the first time of abolition on this island. Until in 1802 Napoleon became king and he brought slavery back. It's called the Creole language. And it was developed because there were people from all over the world, basically from India. There were also workers from Lebanon, from Syria, but of course French people and African people. So there was a language that was created in these times. It's called the Creole, French Creole. That's what people speak here. So we have actually two mother languages on the island. If you grow up here, if you live here, you basically are raised with Creole and French. And the funny thing about the Creole language is actually that there is French Creole, English Creole, and Spanish Creole, and even though there are different accents, they still can communicate with each other, and they don't understand everything, but more or less it's familiar, and they can communicate as if it's just a different accent. Yeah, and then the next big episode for Guadeloupe was actually during the First World War, because then Guadeloupe and Martinique became very important export islands for rum, because during war a lot of people drink a lot of alcohol, and that is when the sugarcane and the rum export were the highest. Until there was the sugarcane crisis, or the sugar crisis, in 1922, because they started producing the industrial sugar. And that is, of course, when the production of sugarcane or cane sugar slowed down, and with that also the economy of the island, Guadeloupe. for those of you who wonder what had happened on the Second World War, here on the island there was during the Vichy regime there was a German-friendly commissioner called Robert, and he was on the island, and American and British, they didn't like that very much, so they made a big blockade on the over the ocean, so there was no import possible anymore over the Atlantic. So the island started to struggle for a very long time until this commissioner and the Vichy regime broke down. And then when this commissioner Robert stopped being the commissioner of Guadeloupe, they opened the blockade over the Atlantic, and then the economic slowly came back to normal. And last but not least, in 1948, then since then Guadeloupe and also Martinique have become official overseas departments of France, and that is still the state they're in now. So we are French, we have a French passport here, and every law and every right is the same as in France. There's just one little exception that is mentioned in the French law, that the cultural differences in Martinique, or the overseas departments here in Martinique and Guadeloupe, have to be respected, such as, for example, the funerals or the cemeteries, or also the celebration of Carnival, which is a lot different from the one in France.
Ouais, les papiers peuvent passer sur le parcours, ils sont pour la réception. Non, moi je les donne. But I will tell you